The rain stung my face like needles as I sprinted down the alley, my boots splashing through puddles that mirrored the neon glow of the city. My heart pounded louder than the sirens chasing me, and I knew I was running out of time. Then she appeared, Officer Emma Caldwell, her silhouette sharp against the flickering streetlight, her voice cutting through the storm like a blade. "Stop, Riley, or I swear I'll shoot." I skidded to a halt, my breath ragged, hands raised as the cold metal of her handcuffs clicked around my wrists. I was no stranger to trouble, but this was different. Emma's eyes, dark and unreadable, locked onto mine, and for a split second, I saw something flicker, something that wasn't just the law staring back. I was 28, a drifter with a rap sheet longer than my patience, and she was the cop who'd been tailing me for weeks. Everyone in this small Oregon town knew Emma Caldwell, the officer who never bent, never broke. But as she shoved me into the back of her cruiser, her fingers lingered on my arm, and I felt the weight of something unspoken. The station was a gray, sterile box, all fluorescent lights and stale coffee. Emma led me to an interrogation room, her steps deliberate, her jaw tight. The door slammed shut, and it was just us, me, cuffed to a metal chair, and her, standing across the table, her badge gleaming like a warning. "Riley Harper," she said, her voice low. "You're in deep this time. Breaking and entering, vandalism, and now fleeing a scene. You're making my night hell." I smirked, leaning back, trying to mask the way my pulse raced under her gaze. "Just doing my part to keep you employed, officer." She didn't laugh. Instead, she leaned forward, her hands flat on the table, her face inches from mine. "Why do you keep doing this, Riley? You're not stupid. You could be more than this." Her words hit harder than I expected, like she saw something in me I'd buried years ago. I wanted to snap back, to tell her she didn't know me. But the truth was, I'd seen her around town too, always alone, always watching. There was a story behind those eyes, one she guarded like a vault. I grew up in foster homes, bouncing from one to another after my parents died in a car crash when I was 9. Trust wasn't my thing, there was staying put. I'd been in Crestwood for 6 months, longer than most places, picking up odd jobs and trouble in equal measure. The night I broke into the old warehouse was supposed to be a quick score some cash from a dealer's stash, enough to get me out of town. But I hadn't counted on Emma being there. Hadn't counted on her chasing me through the rain like I was worth catching. "You don't get to lecture me," I said, my voice sharp. "You don't know what it's like to have nothing." Her expression softened, just for a moment, and she sat down, her chair scraping against the floor. "Maybe I don't," she said quietly, "but I know what it's like to fight for something better." There it was again, that flicker in her eyes, like she was seeing me, not just the criminal in cuffs. I shifted, the cuffs biting into my wrists, and for the first time, I wondered what she was fighting for. Emma was 32, a hometown hero who joined the force right out of college. Crestwood loved her, dependable, tough, the kind of cop who'd risk her life for anyone. But I'd heard whispers, rumors about why she lived alone in that small house on Oak Street, why she never dated, why her smile never quite reached her eyes. She was a puzzle, and I'd always been too curious for my own good. "Tell me what you were doing in that warehouse," she said, her tone shifting back to business. Could have lied, could have played the game, but something about her made me want to push back, to see how far I could go. "What's it to you?" I shot back. "You gonna save my soul, Officer Caldwell?" Her lips twitched, almost a smile, but she caught herself. "Maybe I'm just tired of watching you throw your life away," she said, and the room felt smaller. the air heavier. We sat there, locked in a silent standoff, the clock ticking on the wall. I didn't know then that this was only the beginning, that Emma Caldwell wasn't just a cop doing her job. She was a storm, and I was about to get caught in it. The interrogation room felt like a cage, the kind that doesn't just hold your body but traps your thoughts too. Emma's eyes stayed on me, steady and unrelenting, like she could see every crack in my armor. I wanted to hate her for it, but there was something in her gaze, something that made me feel exposed, not just as a suspect, but as a person. "Start talking, Riley," she said, her voice softer now, almost coaxing. "You were in that warehouse for a reason. What was it?" I leaned back, the cuffs clinking against the chair, and gave her my best smirk. "Maybe I just like abandoned buildings. Good for the soul. You know." Her brow furrowed, but she didn't take the bait. Instead, she pulled out a file, flipping it open to reveal photos caught on a grainy security camera, slipping through the warehouse window. "You're good at this," she said, tapping the photo. "But not good enough." I shrugged, trying to play it cool, but my stomach twisted. The warehouse wasn't just a random hit. I'd been tipped off about a dealer stashing cash there, someone who'd crossed the wrong people. I wasn't stealing for fun. I needed the money to disappear before those people came for me. But I wasn't about to tell her that. Not yet. Emma leaned closer, her voice dropping. "You're running from something, aren't you?" It wasn't a question. It was a blade, slicing right through me. I looked away, my jaw tight, but she didn't let up. "I've seen your record, Riley. You've been running your whole life." "Why?" The room was too quiet, the hum of the lights too loud. I wanted to tell her to back off, to mind her own business, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I deflected. "What about you, officer? Why were you so obsessed with me? Got a thing for bad girls?" It was a cheap shot, meant to rattle her, but her face didn't change. She just stared, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flush creep up her neck. "This isn't about me," she said, but her voice wavered, just enough to make me wonder. She stood, pacing the room, her boots echoing on the linoleum. "You're not leaving this room until I get answers," she said. "So we can do this the easy way or the hard way." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You think I'm scared of you? I've been through worse than a cop with a hero complex." Her eyes flashed, and she stopped pacing, turning to face me. "You don't know me, Riley. Don't pretend you do." But I was starting to. I'd seen her around Crestwood, always alone, always carrying the weight of the town's expectations. I'd heard the way people talked about her, how she'd saved a kid from a burning car, how she never took a day off. But I'd also seen the way she looked at the world, like she was holding something back, something big. And now, in this room, I felt it pull between us, like a current I couldn't swim against. "Let's make a deal," I said, leaning forward. "You tell me something real about you, and I'll give you something real about me." Her eyes narrowed, suspicious, but she didn't say no. She sat back down, crossing her arms. "Fine," she said. "But you go first." I took a breath, my heart racing. I didn't trust people, not ever, but something about her made me want to try. I wasn't just breaking into that warehouse for kicks, I said, my voice low. I needed the money to get out of town. There's someone looking for me. Someone dangerous. Her expression shifted, concern flickering across her face. "Who?" she asked, but I shook my head. Your turn, I said. She hesitated, then sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. I didn't always want to be a cop, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to be a painter. But my dad, he said it wasn't practical. Said I had to be strong, to make him proud. She looked away, her jaw tight. So I did. The admission hung between us, heavy and raw. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I just looked at her, really looked, and saw the woman behind the badge. The door opened, breaking the moment. Another officer poked his head in, muttering something about paperwork. Emma nodded, her face snapping back to professional. But as she stood to leave, she glanced at me, and I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The interrogation room door clicked shut, and Emma was gone, leaving me alone with the hum of the lights and the weight of her words. Painter. Didn't fit. Not with the crisp uniform and the steely resolve. But it made her real in a way I hadn't expected. I leaned back, the cuffs digging into my wrists, and tried to shake the image of her brush in hand, lost in color and light. Not this cold, gray room. I didn't have long to think. The door opened again, and Emma returned, a cup of coffee in one hand, her face unreadable. She set the cup in front of me, the steam curling up like a question mark. It's not poisoned, she said, catching my skeptical look. I smirked, but my throat was dry, and I took a sip, the warmth grounding me. Thanks, I muttered, hating how small my voice sounded. She sat across from me, her posture stiff again, like she was rebuilding the wall between us. You said someone's after you, she said, her tone all business. Who are they? Riley. And don't give me half answers this time. I stared at the coffee, the dark liquid rippling slightly. Telling her meant trusting her, and trust was a currency I didn't spend lightly. But her eyes were on me, steady, waiting, and I felt that pull again, like she was the only thing keeping me from drowning. His name's Marcus, I said finally, my voice low. Runs a crew out of Portland. I owed him money. A lot. I thought I could pay it off with the warehouse job, but it went south. Her brow furrowed, and she leaned forward. Marcus Kane? She asked, her voice sharp. I nodded, and she cursed under her breath. He's bad news. Riley. Drugs. Weapons. Worse. Why the hell are you mixed up with him? I laughed, bitter and hollow. You think I had a choice? I was 19, broke, and desperate. He offered me a way out, and I took it. Didn't know I'd be paying for it years later. I looked down, my hands trembling despite the cuffs. He doesn't let people go. Emma. Not alive. Her face softened, and for a moment, I thought she might reach across the table. But she didn't. She just nodded, like she was piecing me together. You need to tell me everything, she said. Every detail. If Marcus is after you, you're in more danger than you think. I wanted to argue, to tell her I could handle it. But the truth was, I was tired. Tired of running. Tired of looking over my shoulder. So I talked. I told her about the deal gone wrong. The threats. The way Marcus's men had cornered me in a diner 2 weeks ago. Their eyes promising pain. She listened. Her pen scratching notes. But her gaze never left me. When I finished, the room was quiet again. The air thick with everything I'd laid bare. Why do you care? I asked, my voice rough. I'm just another screw-up to you. Right. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and for the first time, I saw something raw, unguarded. Because I've seen too many people like you get chewed up by people like Marcus, she said. And because I don't think you're just a screw-up. Her words hit me like a punch, and I didn't know how to respond. I'd spent years building walls, keeping everyone out, but Emma was slipping through the cracks. She stood, breaking the moment, and moved to the door. I need to check on something, she said. Don't go anywhere. I raised my cuffed hands, smirking, not planning on it. She was gone for what felt like hours, though the clock said 20 minutes. When she came back, her face was grim. Marcus's crew was spotted in town, she said, her voice tight. They're looking for you. My stomach dropped, and the room spun. What now? I asked, hating how small I sounded. She hesitated, then crouched in front of me, her eyes level with mine. I'm not letting them get to you, Riley. But you need to trust me. Trust. That word again. I looked at her, at the lines of her face, the determination in her eyes, and something shifted inside me. Okay, I said, barely a whisper. She nodded, and as she stood, her hand brushed mine, a fleeting touch that sent a jolt through me. I didn't know what was happening between us, but I knew I wasn't alone anymore. Emma's hand lingered on the doorframe as she glanced back at me, her eyes a storm of resolve and something softer, something I couldn't name. Stay put, she said, her voice firm but not unkind. Then she was gone again, leaving me with the echo of her promise. I'm not letting them get to you. My heart pounded, not just from the fear of Marcus's men closing in, but from the way her words wrapped around me, like a lifeline I hadn't asked for. The interrogation room felt smaller now, the walls pressing in as I replayed our conversation. Trusting Emma meant betting on someone I barely knew, but every instinct screamed she was different. I'd spent years reading people knowing who'd stab you in the back and who'd just walk away, but Emma was a puzzle I couldn't solve. Her touch, that brief brush of her fingers, lingered on my skin like a question I wasn't ready to answer. The door opened, and I flinched, expecting another officer. But it was Emma, her face taut with urgency. We're moving you, she said, unlocking my cuffs with quick, precise movements. Marcus's guys are closer than I thought. We've got a safe house on the edge of town. I rubbed my wrists, the skin red and raw, and stared at her. A safe house? You're serious? She didn't look at me, just grabbed my arm and pulled me to my feet. Dead serious. Move. The station was a blur as we slipped through back hallways, avoiding the main bullpen. Her grip on my arm was firm, but her thumb brushed my skin. Small, unconscious gesture that made my breath catch. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy with the scent of wet pavement. She shoved me into an unmarked car, her eyes scanning the street like a hawk. Keep your head down, she said, sliding into the driver's seat. The drive was silent, the only sound the hum of the engine and the occasional crackle of her radio. I stole glances at her, the sharp line of her jaw, the way her hands gripped the wheel. Why are you doing this? I asked, my voice cutting through the quiet. You could just lock me up and be done with it. She didn't answer right away, her eyes fixed on the road. Finally, she said, because I know what it's like to feel trapped. And because you deserve a chance. Her words hung in the air, heavy and real. I wanted to ask more, to dig into the story behind her. But the car slowed, pulling up to a small, nondescript house surrounded by pines. She led me inside, locking the door behind us. The safe house was sparse couch, table, a single lamp casting soft shadows. "You'll stay here until we figure out how to handle Marcus," she said, checking the windows. "I'll be back in the morning." "You're leaving?" I asked, a pang of panic hitting me. She turned, her eyes softening. "I have to. If I don't show up at the station, people will ask questions." She hesitated, then stepped closer, her voice low. "You're safe here, Riley. Promise." I wanted to believe her, but promises were fragile things in my world. Still, I nodded, and she gave me a small, almost imperceptible smile before heading for the door. Alone, I sank onto the couch, my mind racing. Marcus's men were out there, hunting me, and Emma was risking everything to keep me safe. Why? I thought about her confession in the interrogation room, about the painter she'd wanted to be. I pictured her hands, steady and strong, holding a brush instead of a gun, and something ached in my chest. Sleep didn't come easy. Every creak of the house made me jump, every shadow a threat. When morning came, Emma was back, her uniform replaced by jeans and a flannel shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different, softer, but her eyes were still sharp. "You okay?" she asked, setting a bag of groceries on the table. I nodded, though I wasn't sure it was true. "What's the plan?" I asked, my voice rough from lack of sleep. She sat across from me, her hands clasped. "We've got eyes on Marcus's crew. They're circling, but they don't know you're here. We need to keep it that way." She paused, her gaze steady. "And I need you to be honest with me, Riley. No more games." I looked at her, at the woman who was putting her life on the line for me, and felt something shift a crack in the walls I'd built. "Okay," I said. "No more games." The safe house was quiet, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional rustle of pines outside. Emma sat across from me, her flannel sleeves rolled up, her eyes searching mine like she could see every secret I'd ever kept. I promised no more games, but being honest with her felt like stepping off a cliff. "I don't know where to start," I admitted, my voice low. She leaned forward, her elbows on the table, and the morning light caught the strands of dark hair falling across her face. "Start with why you're still running," she said. "You could have gone to the cops. To anyone. Why didn't you?" I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Cops don't exactly roll out the welcome mat for people like me. And Marcus, he's got people everywhere. You turned to the wrong person. You're dead. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. Instead, she reached for the coffee pot between us, pouring 2 mugs. The simple act felt intimate, like we were 2 people sharing a moment, not a cop and a fugitive. "I'm not like them," she said, sliding a mug toward me. "I'm not in Marcus's pocket, and I'm not giving up on you." Her words were a lifeline, but they also terrified me. I wasn't used to people caring, not without strings attached. I took a sip of coffee, the warmth steadying me. "I didn't plan to get in this deep," I said. "After my parents died, I bounced around foster homes, learned to survive on my own. Marcus found me when I was at my lowest, hungry, alone, no one to turn to. He made it sound like family, but it was a trap." Emma listened, her face still but her eyes alive with something I couldn't place: empathy. Maybe. Or anger. "What about you?" I asked, turning the tables. "You said you wanted to be a painter. What happened?" She looked down, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "My dad was a cop," she said. "Big guy. Big expectations. He thought art was a waste of time. Said I needed to be tough. To serve. So I did. Went to the academy. Made him proud. But sometimes, I wonder who I'd be if I'd chosen differently. Her voice was soft. Vulnerable. And it hit me hard. Emma wasn't just a batch. She was a woman carrying her own scars. The day passed in a strange, quiet rhythm. Emma stayed, going over reports, making calls to her team, but her presence filled the room. We really talked about things I hadn't shared with anyone. My first crush. A girl in high school who never knew I existed. The way I'd learned to pick locks to feel in control. She told me about her first painting, a sunset over the Pacific, and how she'd cried when her dad threw it out. Each story was a thread, weaving us closer, and I felt the air between us shift, charged with something new. By evening, she was sitting on the couch beside me, close enough that our knees brushed. "You're not what I expected," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her, at the way her eyes held mine, and my heart stuttered. "Neither are you," I said, and for a moment, the world was just us, no Marcus. No badges. No past. Her hand moved, hesitant, then rested on mine, her touch warm and steady. I didn't pull away. But the moment shattered. Her radio crackled. A voice reporting movement near the edge of town. Emma's face hardened, and she stood, grabbing her jacket. "Stay here," she said, her voice all cop again. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone but me." I nodded, my chest tight with fun at just for me, but for her. "Be careful," I said, and she paused, her eyes meeting mine. "Always am," she said, but her smile was tight, worried. She left, and the house felt empty without her. I paced, my mind racing with what-ifs. Marcus was closing in, and Emma was out there, facing him for me. I didn't know when I'd started caring, but the thought of her getting hurt twisted something deep inside me. I sank onto the couch, her scent coffee and pine lingering on the cushion, and realized I was in deeper than I'd ever meant to be. The safe house was too quiet without Emma, the silence amplifying every creak and shadow. I sat on the couch, her touch still burning on my hand, her words echoing in my head. "I'm not giving up on you." I'd spent my life running from people, from promises, but Emma was different. She was steady, real, and it scared me more than Marcus ever could. Hours dragged by, each one heavier than the last. I checked the windows, the locks, my heart pounding with every car that passed on the distant road. What was she doing out there? Facing Marcus's men. Risking her life for someone like me. I didn't deserve it. But the thought of her fighting for me made something ache in my chest. A feeling I hadn't let myself name. The door rattled, and I froze, my breath catching. "Riley." "It's me," Emma's voice called, low and urgent. I unlocked the door, and she slipped inside, her face pale, her flannel streaked with mud. "You okay?" I asked, my voice shaking. She nodded, but her eyes were dark with exhaustion. "They're closer than we thought," she said, locking the door behind her. "Marcus's crew hit a gas station on the edge of town. They're sending a message." I swallowed hard, the weight of it sinking in. "What do we do?" She looked at me, her jaw tight, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, not for herself, but for me. "We stay put for now," she said. "My team's tracking them, but we need to be careful." She sank onto the couch beside me, her shoulder brushing mine, and the air felt charged again, like a storm about to break. "I'm sorry," I said, the words spilling out before I could stop them. For dragging you into this. She shook her head, her hand finding mine again, her fingers curling around my own. You didn't drag me anywhere, she said. I chose this. I chose you. Her words hit like a tidal wave, and I stared at her, my heart racing. Why? I whispered. Why me? She looked at me, her eyes soft and fierce all at once. Because you're more than your mistakes, Riley. Because I see you, the real you, and I can't look away. Her voice broke, and before I could think, I leaned forward, closing the distance between us. Our lips met, tentative at first, then desperate, like we'd both been holding our breath for too long. Her hands cupped my face, her touch grounding me, and for the first time in years, I felt safe. But the world didn't stop for us. Her radio crackled again, a voice reporting shots fired downtown. Emma pulled back, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with conflict. I have to go, she said, her voice thick with regret. I grabbed her hand, panic rising. Don't. Please. She squeezed my hand, her expression torn. I'll be back, she said. I promise. But promises were fragile. And as she grabbed her gun and headed for the door, I felt the ground shift beneath me. I paced the safe house, my mind a mess of fear and longing. That kiss, it had changed everything. I'd spent my life keeping people at arm's length, but Emma had broken through, and now I was terrified of losing her. The hours stretched on, each one a knife in my chest. When the door finally opened again, I spun around, relief flooding me until I saw her face. Blood streaked her cheek, her arm cradled against her side. Emma. I rushed to her, my hands shaking as I helped her to the couch. What happened? She winced, her voice strained. Ambush. Marcus's guys. I got out. But it's bad. Riley. My heart stopped. How bad? She looked at me, her eyes steady despite the pain. They're coming for you. And I can't let them win. I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. You're hurt. You can't, she cut me off, her hand on my cheek. I'm not giving up, she said. Not on you. Not on us. Emma's hand on my cheek was warm, steady, despite the blood and pain etched across her face. Her words, not on us, hung in the air, binding us together in a way I hadn't thought possible. But the fear in my gut was louder, screaming that Marcus's men were coming, that this fragile thing between us could be ripped apart before it even began. We need to move, she said, her voice hoarse but firm. She tried to stand, wincing as she clutched her arm. I grabbed her, steadying her. You're hurt, Emma. You can't fight like this. Her eyes met mine, fierce and unyielding. I fought through worse, she said. And I'm not letting them take you. I wanted to argue, to beg her to stay safe. But the look in her eyes told me she wouldn't back down. Not for me. Not for anything. She grabbed her radio, barking orders to her team. Backup was on the way. But Marcus's crew was close. Too close. We're not staying here, she said, pulling me toward the back door. There's a car in the garage. We'll head to the station. My heart pounded as we slipped into the night, the cold air biting my skin. The garage was dark, the car a beat-up sedan. But Emma moved with purpose, ignoring her pain. We drove in silence, her eyes scanning the road, her good hand tight on the wheel. I watched her, the woman who'd risked everything for me, and felt a surge of something bigger than fear, love. Maybe. Or something close to it. Emma, I said, my voice barely audible. If we get through this, I want to try. With you. She glanced at me, her expression softening. We'll get through this, she said. And then we'll figure it out. Together. The station was a fortress of light in the darkness. But as we pulled up, headlights flashed behind us. Emma cursed, slamming the car into park. Stay low, she hissed, drawing her gun. My heart raced as I ducked, the sound of tires screeching closer. Shots rang out, shattering the night, and Emma shoved me down, her body shielding mine. Stay here, she said, and before I could protest, she was out of the car, firing back. The next moments were a blur: gunfire, shouts, the wail of sirens. I crouched in the car, my pulse hammering, praying Emma was okay. When the shooting stopped, I peeked out, my breath catching as I saw her, bloody but standing, handcuffing a man I recognized as one of Marcus's. Backup had arrived, and the scene was chaos: cops, lights, radios crackling. Emma stumbled back to the car, her face pale but triumphant. It's over, she said, her voice shaking. Marcus is in custody. Climbed out, my legs unsteady, and threw my arms around her, not caring who saw. She held me back, her grip tight despite her injuries. You're safe, she whispered, and I felt tears sting my eyes. For the first time in years, I believed it. Days later, we sat in her small house on Oak Street, bandages on her arm, coffee mugs between us. Marcus and his crew were behind bars, and my charges were reduced. Emma had pulled strings, vouched for me. I was free. But more than that, I was hers. What now? I asked, my hand in hers. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen, and it lit up the room. Now, she said, we start over. Together. We did. I got a job at a local garage, fixing cars, building a life. Emma painted again, her canvases filling the house with color. We fought. We laughed. We loved fiercely, imperfectly, but always together. And every night, as we lay in bed, her arms around me, I knew I'd found something worth staying for. Something worth fighting for.